and you don't know either.
I'm
So yeah,
Moyo.
one topic.
I'm
And
Moyo. I'm
if I bring
sure
you in,
you had one topic, and that Mark is not calling you out right now. What do you want
no,
to
Moya's the
talk about?
shit.
And where are you from?
I'm from Providence, Rhode Island.
Providence, Rhode
Uh,
Island. That was actually my first League of Legends event that I ever worked at was in Providence, Rhode Island. MLG
really?
Providence. Yeah. What did you want to chat about?
I was here to talk about Dardoch and the Dardoch narrative.
The
Let's
Dardoch
do
narrative.
it.
Okay, what about it? I'm excited.
I just feel like Dardoch has gotten done like in sort of like the public perception.
Sorry.
It's
you-
like,
go ahead.
yeah, sorry, was I too quiet?
Yeah,
No,
we
it's
lost.
fine.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
lost you for a moment.
yeah,
there.
you said Dardoch's done the public perception, then we didn't hear anything.
I said I felt like Dardoch got done kind of dirty in the public perception.
How so?
Okay.
And I feel that sort of relative to, especially in like more conventional sports, guy go in and he like has some like attitude problems, especially someone is like, I think Dardoch's like just the craziest player ever. Like I think he's such an insane talent, especially for North America. I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like people were really quick to come to like really harsh judgments on him, even beginning with just like his liquid days.
When did Dardoch join the league, Mark?
Spring 2016. Dom played the first game, didn't like it. Dardoch subbed in second game week 1.
Okay,
and
so
was the starter after that.
Spring 2016. So spring, summer, spring 2017, spring or summer
Dash
2017.
wants to know what teams he's been on during.
No,
that
no, no.
time.
I'm just saying that you've got 2 years at the professional level. Understanding these kids are young, but 2 years in a professional level of any other sport, people would be going so much harder on this kid. Are you kidding me? If he had attitude problems, if things are going the way they're going, if he's ripping teams apart and dragging them down and whatnot, and that's the public opinion, I truly think that he would be trashed even harder, and I think rightfully so, because you have a platform. You've been gifted a platform and a brand and a status, and with that comes the expectation. Again, similar thing with Bjergsen. Bjergsen didn't live up to a lot of expectations as he was the rising star. He wouldn't be the guy he is that is getting the criticism now in week 1. The criticism in week 1, right? That he's getting, where his brand and his individuality, his persona is so great, has been built up to be what it is, that there's an expectation that goes along with it. Also, I would just say that I'm pretty sure Dardoch, not even pretty sure, I know Dardoch plays into it.
Well, he's actively fighting against it now, right? Like,
well, yes and no. Again, that's what I mean by like that unifying thing, where it's like they in that mic check. Hey, if we were that close as TSM, we'd all be fist fighting right now. They're playing into it.
That's true, but I think he says it sarcastically, right? Because with I feel like with the interviews that I've done of him so far, he is very much trying to assert like, yeah, I have anger problems, but I'm like a good person. You can ask people. He's kind of said that across both of the interviews that I've done with him. And then even I think the Echo Fox president, Jeffries, has said that, some of these guys have issues in game, but they're all really good guys. So I get that they're playing it a little bit, but I would push back a bit that he's like embracing it, because I feel like he is, at least whenever I talk to him, trying to recover some of that.
Wait, can I just cut in for like half a second?
Sure.
All right, you can go, Mark.
I was just going to say the reason that people don't give him the benefit of the doubt when he says that stuff is because that's exactly what happened with Immortals when they signed him to a 3-year contract, and they said they believe in him, and then it was so bad that they kicked him after one split.
Wait,
so
I actually really want to address that, because people bring that up a lot. And to Immortals, he thought he was going to be playing with Huni. thought he was gonna be playing with one of the best top laners in the world.
I don't care what you think.
Yeah, that's
when
so
you come into the
stupid.
organization. That doesn't justify being a douche, to use crude language, from that point forward. You're in a professional environment. This is what I mean. This is what I mean when there's. I recognize they're young. And I empathize with that fact, and I've done many stupid things in my life. But when you have a platform and when you are paid the amount that you're paid to do a job, understand this is a job. You sign a contract, just like I signed a contract to be a caster, just like I signed a contract to be a bartender, way back in the day. I show up and I do my job. And so he may have had one expectation, and maybe the chips don't fall the way you expect. That doesn't give you carte blanche to just start acting the way you want and then use it and then excuse or justify it out later because of that thing. I'm with you. If we were going as hard as we are 6 months into his career, I'd say maybe we have an issue. It's been 2.5 years, and every team that he's gotten on or has been on has either removed him, has cited some kind of issues when it comes to communication or teamwork and those kinds of things. It's a story that seems to be, to some degree, although I recognize Travis's point in that, like, he does do his point in combating it, but that's because I think that 100% toxicity is not necessarily a brand that's sustainable in pro sports, but 80% toxicity, I'm using crude language, is. As long as you have those redeeming factors.
But I think even
so he's playing towards that.
But I think even the toxicity is kind of overblown, because if you look at Team Liquid, right?
It's not.
Well, let him finish his thought, Mark.
Okay.
I'm not saying necessarily or at least from the pro side, what people intend when they say by it, but how people interpret it. Because on Team Liquid, even Dom said the reason that, or one of the reasons that he wanted to stop playing, was because it was to work with Piglet. And then you go to, you could go more into that and people underperforming and all this and that, but just that, I think people don't take that into account when they talk about his time on Liquid. Then you go to Immortals. He thought he was going to be playing with at least a mostly English.
I'm going to chime in.
Team.
Sorry. This is what's called mitigating factors, and like no situation is perfect, and he has had almost universally regarded as the worst attitude since he has joined the league, pretty much. So like every team has problems. Every team, if you want to look at their players, can say like, oh, I didn't like this and that. But why is he not held to a standard that like everyone else is in your mind?
But to Mario's point,
I'm not.
No, it's fine. Whether or not you look, I agree, Mark, with you that Dardoch and Dash, that even in shitty situations, you shouldn't act shitty because you're only making it worse. That's not a good situation. But what it can do is spawn a bit of a conversation around. When I interviewed Dardoch this weekend, he said that in the past he's always felt like an outsider joining every team because he comes in and he starts playing, and then everybody's like, "Whoa," because his reputation has preceded him, which makes a lot of sense. But with Echo Fox, he doesn't feel that way. And what is interesting to me to see is, if you take Imoyo's point, which is that he's not been in ideal environments, and that has been a contributing factor to his situation, I'm very curious if a different environment like Echo Fox, which he seems to feel differently about than the past teams he's on, is going to lead him to better success. I know it's a bit of a tangent, but it's like, instead of just focusing on how shitty he's been in the past, sort of looking at, how do we get this guy out of this situation, I think is an interesting.
Well, so that's fair. Like, I don't think James or I want him to fail, and like I've said I've always defended them as a person. I've always said Dardoch is not a bad person, and like in that interview, I agree with that. Everything he said there. He has anger problems. He can't control his emotions. I've never said he's a bad teammate outside the game and like talking, like shitting on his teammates and like being manipulative or anything like that. I've never said that. But what I've always said, and I will maintain, is that he is very articulate and he can express how these situations make him feel very well, and it makes it very relatable to people, but it never excuses it in my mind. And so like I watched him in scrims before playoffs on bad champions and then complain about it to everyone. Like I have personal experience watching this, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that. And then, so like,
well, we could talk about this for an entire hour, but I think
like I said, I want Dardoch to succeed. I hold nothing against him, but his reputation has been earned explicitly through his actions.
So let's pivot the conversation to the way that we can wrap it up, which is,
sure.
At what point do we all think, and I'm very curious about Moyo's opinion on this as well, do we all think that like Dardoch has not to steal a Tyler 1 meme, but when is he reformed? When can we feel like he's reformed? Is it when he's on Echo Fox the whole year? Is it when we hear nothing but good things going into week 9 about how he's behaved? I'm just kind of curious on your guys' take on when. We were just talking about narratives for the analyst desk. At what point in time do you guys feel you have to pivot that narrative?
I would say, a combination of those things. Anytime that you want to have people redefine your perception of them, you need to prove it, and not just in the good moments, but in the bad. So if Echo Fox is 18-1 and there's no complaints, that does less to, sway my opinion than if they go 10-8 and everyone still says no, he's been great, And I'll take people's word for it. I mean, I haven't been as close to him as I had when he was on Team Liquid, and I was relatively close to certain members on the other organizations, but if the people there say no, he's great, then like I'll take their word for it. But 2 weeks is not enough, and I don't think, I'll wait.
Yeah. I might be a little tougher to convince than even Mark. I would say at least a split, if not a full year. And again, I draw a lot of comparisons and analogies to traditional sports, which is that like Dardoch has a history on multiple organizations of not succeeding for a very specific reason. So to Mark's point, the narrative is deserved. The current narrative, in my opinion, is very much deserved. To combat that narrative, a 2-year built narrative, I don't think we can do that in 2 weeks. I think that's unfair to say, two weeks of good, let's go ahead and forgive everything that was and pretend like it didn't happen and the world has changed. But with a level of consistency, a split in, Echo Fox finishes top 4 in the North American LCS, having lost a few times but recovering and performing strong through the playoffs, then yeah, I think we should be coming in to the summer split or coming out of the spring split talking about how maybe the Dardoch personality issues are a thing of the past. 100%. We should be willing to change the narrative, but the historical context of this player to what is currently happening doesn't match up in a way that allows me to drop the storyline of this is a guy who you got to handle with care. He's volatile, and I think he's one of the best junglers we got, and I'm with Mark. I want to see this guy succeed. His Zac has been one of the dirtiest things I've seen so far this split. Trust me, I want this guy to succeed. I also love that he's kind of a bad boy, like we need more of those in the league. The league. We need double ifs. We need Dardochs. I want trash talkers. Like, I think that's a good thing. Just because you give a slightly negative persona or narrative to a player doesn't mean it's a bad thing, man. Work that brand, play that character. We need villains. Let's go.
If he wants to shit talk everybody in the league and even like his own team to an extent, that's fine. It's just like behind the scenes when you have no reason to do that is I think what we're looking out for.
Moyo, we'll get you. We'll let you close out your call here. When do you think that? I know you already feel like some of it is undeserved, but when would you say Dardoch is reformed?
I think I would be very surprised if he had any issue this year on Echo Fox. Now that he's with Jared Jeffries, who's the president of Operate. Yeah, now he's with Jared Jeffries. Now he's with people from a traditional sports infrastructure.
Cool. So do you think it would be fair, though, to wait till the end of the split to kind of like determine whether or not we should drop the narrative, though? Because just because he's in an org that you have confidence in doesn't mean they'll succeed in reforming him, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't talking about this from an analyst desk perspective.
Right. Okay.
I was speaking from like an individual perspective.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying you guys should stop questioning his character or whatever on the analyst desk, but I was more referring to on Reddit and individuals that I interact with.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you're gonna get that kind of shit just because that's the internet, and if people aren't Dardoch fans, of course they're gonna perpetuate that narrative. But I'm with you. So far, so good this season. He's on track to completely hack and slashing that narrative to the ground and building a new brand. Let's see what it is.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And you spawned a
And
really good discussion. I
you.
was hoping we'd get a chance to talk about Dardoch this episode. So thanks.
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you much. Bye.